Welcome to the Fertility Mind podcast. I am your host, Jessica Friesen, a certified fertility mindset coach, a sound healer, and an international best-selling author. My mission for this podcast is to give you weekly episodes where you hear my own success with IVF and how mindset and manifestation changed it all for me. You will also hear from my guests who share their success stories in the fertility world. I want you to know that you are not alone. Even when things feel tough and when things feel like they aren't going your way, the tools and techniques you will get in this podcast, I know can change everything for you too. So thanks for being here with me today, and let's dive in. Good morning, listeners, and welcome back to another episode. I have a guest here with me today. Her name is Margaret, and Margaret and I met in a coaching community, and she's also one of my reading partners. And Margaret's going to share her fertility story with us today, and I'm so excited for you to hear all about it. And here's Margaret. I want you to introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Margaret, and I am a fellow coach of Jessica. I am blessed to know her and to share many things with her. And one of them is our fertility journey before we ever even knew each other. I am 64 years old. And when I went into fertility, I was 41. And I got married when I was 35. And shortly after was hoping to get pregnant and have a child, and it just wasn't happening. So we looked into IVF, and I was following this doctor, a very famous doctor. I live in New York, and he was, the best doctor in New York City. So I live in Long Island, which is a trek back and forth. And 3-4 times a week, I was going into Manhattan and, doing what I needed to do. And nothing was happening. 1 year went by, a little more than a year went by. And, but I trusted this man, and I trusted the process. And I guess, back then I had a little bit of me that was believing you are 41 and this might not happen. And, my husband is 4 years younger than me. But something in my heart kept telling me, no, this is, I think God put it on my heart to have this child, and I held on to that. So unbeknownst to me, I had found out that the doctor that I was seeing was doing some things that were not ethical. And I decided that I could either stay there and trust, because that's the kind of person I am, or put myself and my husband and this baby first and move on. And I did do that. I wasn't, 100% sure I was doing the right thing, but I knew, again, something told me that this is not working. And, I say that I moved on, but I think it found me. I'm a dance instructor. I'm a fitness coach, health coach, all of that. And I decided to open up a studio, one of many, but recently, at that time, 1992. And as I was looking, for spaces and stuff, I picked up a magazine and I turned it over, and it says Brooklyn IVF. And I was like, And it was actually down the block from the space I was going to rent. So I felt like this was a message. I felt like, okay, let me try this, And so I did. I walked in to beautiful energy, beautiful people, and told my story. And within weeks, the ball was rolling. Within weeks, they were very aggressive. And they did said to me, you are in your 40s, so we should be aggressive and move forward. And that's what they did. And within a couple of months, I was pregnant. Which I was thrilled. And my husband was thrilled. We all were. But that did not work out. At 6 weeks, there was no more heartbeat. So, that was devastating. It was devastating, but yet, I am a true believer of God. And I just knew that baby was not meant to be here. That baby is somewhere else. And I decided to go around again. So I waited a little bit, and a couple of months later, we did the process again, and it worked. It worked. I became pregnant, and I had the most beautiful pregnancy. It was just wonderful. I was teaching through my pregnancy, 40 years old, teaching through my pregnancy, all the way up to the end. And I also, at that time, I forget what the test is called, an amnio, I guess. They want to give you a test at a certain point to see if the baby is healthy and all of this. And I said to myself, I'm not doing this. This baby was given to me by God. And however this beautiful baby comes out, this is my baby and I will care for it. And so and everybody thought I was crazy, but I didn't. So I went with my heart. And now I'm happy to say that 23 years later, I have a beautiful son, healthy in every way. He is the light of our lives. And it was all worth it. All the changing of mindset and now being in the mindset that we are as coaches and just looking at life very differently. I am so grateful that everything happened the way it did happen, because that is the way it was meant to happen. And just before I did this call, I found a letter from the doctor, the first doctor, a woman doctor, when I did lose the baby. And she was retiring. And so I could no longer follow her, but there were other doctors there. But anyway, she wrote me this beautiful letter. And she said something in the letter. She said, I just wanted to say I'm sorry that things did not work out the way you had hoped they did. And at that time, I felt like that, but I was able to focus and go back and try again. But now, all these years later, being in the mindset that I am and the way I think, I would have looked at that very differently. That again, what is meant to come to us will come to us. And if we really, truly want something, it'll happen the way it's supposed to happen, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And, this first baby, who knows what would have been with that baby? It was God's choice to not give me that baby, but yet give me my son, who I can't even imagine life without him. Him, that baby, that child, this young man that is now in my life. So, it was an amazing journey, and it continues. And I just want to share that, we should all know that it's no one's fault. We should not be ashamed. There's no shame here. This is just the way life is, and for some people it's one way and for some people it's another way. And, I always used to look and say, like, at girls or women who would say, oh, well, I'm getting married and I'm going to have a baby right away. And boom, that's what they did. And I used to say, well, why isn't that happening to me? But then I had to stop with that energy and say, well, now's not my time. When it's my time, it'll be my time. And backing up, I had opened up the business right at the same time I started all this. I had a lot going on in my life. And I really think God was just putting all the pieces together for me, like do this now, do that, do this. And then this beautiful blessing is going to come when you have the time. I was able, then my business was established. I was able to step away and care and raise my boy, and still have my other parts of my life. So yeah, I feel like everything happens when it's supposed to and how it's supposed to. So that's my story. I love my story. I love to tell it. Being pregnant was the best part of it, just enjoying it and waiting and be grateful. So yeah, that's my story.
That's a beautiful story. So 23 years ago, was fertility, were the fertility clinics full, or was it still kind of new back then? How was your experience in the sense of just because I know fertility is very, very common now. When even in 2014, when I found myself in the middle of the fertility world, the clinics were so full. And I instantly didn't feel as alone because I thought, okay, I'm not the only one just going through this. But then my heart instantly felt sad as well, thinking, oh my gosh, so many other people are struggling with this. And this is not a place anyone wants to be.
Right. Let me just add that my math is a little off. So in 1992, I opened the studio. It was 1995 that I started the process of IVF, and 96, like that. But I have to say that I myself, when I walked into these clinics being 40, I was taken aback by how many young women were in there.
Yeah.
And yes, it was crowded. It was crowded. And it's not to say that everyone, there was no waiting or whatever like that. But I think it has always been something that everyone has to deal with. It's just not been spoken about, or like I was surprised how many people were in there. I thought I was going to be the only one, this older woman. I mean, I was sitting and talking to women that were in their 20s, in their 30s, and, healthy. Everything seemed fine, but yet they could not conceive. So yeah, I think it was pretty popular, if that's a word we want to use, but and I didn't realize that the availability of this was around, because this was new to me. It was totally new to me. But yeah, it was pretty crowded.
That I think it's beautiful in the sense, not that a fertility clinic is crowded, but it was still newer back then, and science is constantly evolving. And I don't really pay attention to the news and things like that, but they talk about how infertility is on the rise. And I often question thinking, is it on the rise or has it always been there? It was never talked about. And, women had to deal with this silently on their own and just, pick themselves up and go back to work and do all the things that they had to do. So I love the fact that, your son is 23 and, you were in your 40s when you started the process. I think that's a beautiful thing because I know, there's always that certain underlying thing that if you start at a certain age, your fertility has gone down or something else. Right. And being in mindset and understanding manifestation, I had this most beautiful conversation with a woman who was 48 that was just like, I have no patience for this. I'm going to get pregnant and I'm going to do it. And she got pregnant right away. And I was like, this is incredible. But like society tells you at a certain age, you start, your fertility starts to decline. And I think the things that we start to tell ourselves, because that becomes our diagnosis, even if there is no other underlying medical diagnosis, is it's just so, you feel that. And so I love your story. I think it's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing honestly about a miscarriage and honestly about, switching a fertility clinic, because I think that is hard for some people. Because a lot of people will just stay the process even when it doesn't feel right. Um, because they don't want to start over, because sometimes it's about, you've developed some type of relationship with your fertility doctor or your nurses and things like that, and to start over
Right.
can be so scary. But I love how you know that it was God guiding you. That you opened up a studio and you opened up a pamphlet. And the funny thing is, this morning I was looking at my watch, and my watch always has the time. And if I swipe it, I can have it show pictures on my watch. And I was in the shower this morning and I was feeling so nervous. And I don't usually feel that nervous. And I was washing my hair and I looked at my watch, and there was a picture that came up and said, "The universe has your back." And I
Oh,
thought, okay, I'm okay. I've got
yeah,
this. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. And I really believe that when you're open to listening, all the right places and things will start aligning for you.
Yep. I
So,
want to share something that you say that. Um, I too was in the shower and I was going through my phone just to see what time it was. And something popped up for me as well. And it said, thoughts become things. If you see it in your mind, you will hold it in your hand. And I have to add something to this beautiful story, that I have this little statue um, of a baby. And the baby, it has blue eyes and a little belly and just this happy expression on its face. And I kept that statue the whole time I was going through this. I had that statue from childhood, I think. And I just took it with me, not knowing that this is going to be my baby or whatever. But when I became pregnant, before I even knew it was a boy, I always felt I was going to have a boy because I've been teaching girls since I'm 14 years old. And I'm like, I love girls, but I was like, I really would, I think I'd be a good boy mom. So I think I'm going to have a boy. And when I found out I was having a boy, this little guy, this statue, was just there with me through the whole thing. And when my son was born with these blue eyes and these pink little cheeks, I was like, it was like you talk about manifestation, right? I mean, I kind of manifested that that's what my son was going to look like. And he did. So, if you truly believe, if you see it in your mind and you hold it in your heart, you can hold anything in your hand. And, it's a blessing to think like that. It
mhm.
really, right?
I absolutely agree. So my last baby, my little guy Oren, he's got blue eyes and blonde hair. Um, and I would honestly sit and visualize. So I had started thinking into results in 2019 because I really wanted to manifest my baby. And my only understanding of law of attraction or manifestation was listening to The Secret and the Power by Rhonda Byrne on audiobook. So I literally listened to them faithfully when I was driving to my appointments for my twins, who are now 7. Um,
Wow.
but they never talked about vision. It was never talked about visualizing or holding things. It was more so about gratitude.
Mhm.
And so I kept telling myself every day in the shower before I drive to my fertility appointments, if I only get one pregnancy, I'm going to have boy girl twins. And I felt so excited and so much love. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm determined. And when we found out that we were having boy girl twins, like I cried and I was like, oh my goodness. And I could go on and on about that. But so in 2019, when I really started to understand manifestation and mindset and a deeper level of law of attraction, if you will,
Yes.
I got so clear. And because I already had three stepdaughters and I had boy girl twins, and my husband said to me, he's like, I would love to have two sons. And my dad had said something to me after my twins were born, because my twins, their middle names are my daughter's middle name is my mom's first name, and my son's middle name is my father-in-law's first name and my husband's first name. And my dad very politely just said, so I'm the only grandparent that doesn't have one. And I said, Dad, I'm not done. And he said, What? And I said, I know I want to have another baby. And he's like, Okay. So I had my son's name picked out, and I knew his middle name was going to be my dad's first name. And I really just held on to this vision of a blue-eyed, blonde hair baby. And I kept saying his name over and over and over again. And we were able to do a blood work test at 10 weeks. It's called an NIPT test. And they just check for like abnormalities and things like that. But they can also tell you the gender of your baby. So when my friend did a little gender reveal for us, and that she told me that we were having a boy, I I wasn't shocked. I didn't cry. My husband was crying and he's like, How are you not crying? I was like, I knew I was having a boy. And he said, How did you know? And I said, It's called manifestation. And he's like, What do you mean?
Yes.
And I said, Because I'm literally holding this vision of this baby in my mind. So I know I'm going to hold him in my hands.
Yeah.
So, and when our son was born and he had this like blonde hair, like white blonde hair, my husband's like, oh my gosh. He's like, we did it. I was like, I know.
Isn't that
So
great?
yeah. And I think that anyone going through a fertility journey, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you can find joy in the process. And I think when you really go into your faith, whether it's yourself, universe, creator, God, spirit, whatever you resonate with, and really just hold on to that image in your mind that you get to hold your baby no matter what way it happens.
Correct.
I think it gives almost like the pressure off of just knowing it's going to happen and just trusting and having faith. That sometimes it doesn't, at least for me, it didn't feel like a shock. I was just like, I knew this. I just knew all along.
Yeah.
And, and I know it's hard for some people, especially no matter where they are on the fertility journey, to think that way. But I encourage everyone to really delve into what it is that you want and
Right.
look at the signs around you. And it's okay to, just want a healthy baby. It's okay to want to have a girl. It's okay to want to have a boy. It's okay to wish for twins. Whatever resonates with you, your desire that resonates with you, I think is what's speaking to you. And, I think you having that statue of a little boy, like, I think that's beautiful. I think it's amazing, as if it was always there just guiding you, that he
You're
one day
exactly right. It was always there. It was always there. And like I said before, things come to us in the right time. And, who knows if I had this baby 10 years before that, what it would have been. I don't know. I don't question any of that. But I just know that this little statue, and it's little broken, from moves to moves. I mean, I've had this little guy around a long time. And my son knows the story. And I said, and now it's your statue, so that one day your little boy or girl or whatever is going to come, and, you know, um, just believing in things like that really takes pressure off. and it allows you to just be calm. And if we're not calm, if we're not, these things may not come. We're blocking them ourselves with our own energy of like, I'm so afraid, I'm so afraid. Where if you just, you take that leap of faith and you just let go, and the minute you do that, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changes. So, and no matter what you're doing in life, as soon as you surrender and you just let go and you just trust,
Mm-hmm.
things change.
I love that you use the word surrender, because so my twins were my fourth implantation. So I had three failed ones before. And I literally, I just, before we had started that round, I had basically surrendered. I got down on my knees, tears running from my face, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I've got enough room for one more attempt. And I'm giving it my everything. I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting my body. I'm trusting all of these, sources around me. And I feel so grateful that I get to be on this journey because, financially, a lot of people, they give up because they see the price to start with and they don't do it. Or, mentally, after so many losses or so many situations, they just tell themselves, what, it's not, I can't do it. But is the second I surrendered and I gave up control of it has to happen this time frame, it has to happen now, it has to happen, everything lined up so perfect. But, during the process, it didn't feel perfect by any means. I was consumed with resentment and grief and frustration and hurt. And, why is this happening to me? And all of these things. And I thought, like, what is wrong with me? And it wasn't until I surrendered that I said, okay. And for my son, my last baby, we, from the beginning, I said, I need to just follow the process. I need to surrender. And I did a bird's eye view of like, everything happens at its right divine time. Words that someone said to me that I was like, it's not its right divine time. This is not what I asked for.
Right.
But when you do the bird's eye view and you look back, everything happened at its right, perfect time compared to all the things that I went through. And I'm like you, I did not spend time looking back saying, what if my husband and I got pregnant when we first got married and we didn't have a fertility journey, or we didn't, I thought it's no use going back because here I am right now. And I feel like we are all here for a mission or a story or a purpose. And I really feel like it's my purpose to share these things with people. And I really absolutely love connecting with other people that have had success in the fertility world, because I want our listeners to have hope and know you can push hard things, you can make it through. And if you stay focused on your desire, but let go of the process of exactly when and how, you too can have the things that, you desire the most. And as hard as it is for people to hear, trust the process. And I really do believe things happen the way they're supposed to happen. So
Absolutely. You got to step out of fear. Fear is it's a liar. It cripples us, and also, what you're saying, Jessica, is so profound, because if this didn't happen to you, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here speaking about this. It was given to us, one, because we could handle it, even though we didn't know we could handle it, as all women can. But we don't have enough trust in ourselves and the process, but I think we're given things are brought into our life, so that we can give it to others. We can share the experience. We could now speak, like you say, looking almost like stepping out of yourself and looking in at your life and looking at what you went through. Had you not gone through this, you wouldn't be here helping other people, and you are meant to do that. And that is God's plan, source, universe, whatever you want to call it. We're all, I love this line and I use it all the time because it was given to me by a mentor of mine who is 90 years old. We're all here just to walk each other home. And when she said that to me, it just, whatever that home is, we're here to help each other. We're here to guide each other. And our stories are what open the pathway for other people. And then their story will, this is just, will go on and on till, we're now flying over them, helping them. But someone else will be telling this story and sitting here like you and I someday. And, and there's, not sure how old you are, but I'm sure there's a big difference in our age. And that's what's beautiful. It's just beautiful because there are women who are older that do want to have children. And why not? Who's to say, oh, at this age, that's it. You can't do this anymore. I mean, that's not true. So, and there are young, like I told you before, 20-year-olds. I was sitting there talking to 20-year-old women, 22, 23, that just could not conceive. So it happens across the board, but everything happens for a reason. Everything is brought to us for a reason. And as long as we keep sharing and we keep letting people know it's okay. It's okay. What you're going through is okay. And it'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Absolutely. So I'm 37, and when I started the first process, I was pregnant by the time I was 29. And my husband is 9.5 years older than me. So he was like 36 in that time frame when we started the whole, no, I guess he was 38. I'm trying to think of my math. I'm like, no, he was 38.
I'm not too good with the math.
And and they had already said to him, because at 38, your sperm, quote unquote, is starting to deteriorate. And I just thought, why do we have to have that definition? Why can't we be healthy? And then again, when we went through the process years later, like I was 35 when my son was born. So my husband was 44. So I don't believe age matters. I believe our minds are so incredibly powerful. And if you truly want something bad enough, you will have it. You will find a way to have it. And yeah, I want to thank you. This conversation has been so beautiful.
Yes.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for asking me, and the one last thing I want to say is what you just said is, if you want something bad enough, it will happen. And sometimes it happens not in the way that you think it's going to happen. I know a woman who, she tried for a long, long time to have a baby. And she was told she had some surgeries in her stomach and things like that. And she was told she could never have a baby. And her and her husband were done with that. And they adopted a beautiful girl from China. And they got her when she was 3. And maybe, I don't know, when she was about 5, we were on a ski trip. And my friend did not feel well. And she's an avid skier. We were always skiing. And I'd say, Mary, you're not going to go? She goes, I don't know, Margaret. I just don't feel well today. I must have a virus or something. And well, the whole trip, she didn't feel well. She went home. She goes to the doctor. And lo and behold, she's pregnant. So, and, she was always told she could never have a baby. And in her mind, she could never have a baby. And when she let go, she had her daughter, beautiful little girl. She was grateful. She was happy. She did a beautiful thing by adopting this child, and then both of their worlds were beautiful, and she just let it go. She never thought about it again. She let it go. And in this process, God was like, okay, you didn't harp, you didn't, you did the right thing or whatever. And here she has a baby. Now she has a son, a daughter and a son. So, you don't know what life is going to bring you. So always keep your heart open, always keep your mind open, that anything is possible, right? Anything is possible if you believe. I know it sounds like a fairy tale, but why not? Why not? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this amazing chat today. And I hope our listeners gained lots of hope and excitement and knowledge that, age does not matter. And, that really holding the image in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, and just always, always, always surrender to the process, and don't control everything. Because I can truly say that's something I was trying to do, because my journey, I felt like there was so many unknowns in my world, and there was so many things I couldn't control, and I was like, I can control this. And it truly wasn't until I surrendered that things actually worked out beautifully for me. So I hope our listeners have a wonderful day, and have a great message from today.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you found this helpful or know anyone that needs to hear this, please share. And don't forget to leave a review and subscribe. In love and gratitude, Jessica.